Chairperson and distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the media, permit me to first of all acknowledge media stations who are streaming this press conference live on their esteemed platforms. As always, we are live on GH1 television, we are live on United Television, we are live on Pan-African TV, Power 97.9 FM, Class 92.3 FM, Class FM, Ahoto 92.3 FM, and I believe we'll be live on Asempa FM in the Gyamfi as well. But on social media, you can watch this press conference live on Wazo TV, which is also streaming live on our NDC Communication Bureau pages on Twitter and Facebook, and also live on Loud Silence Television. We are most grateful to all these media platforms for working with us to bring our message to the doorsteps of every Ghanaian. It is my singular honor to welcome you on behalf of the National Democratic Congress to this press conference, which is intended to address the high and unbearable cost of living that Ghanaians are experiencing under the watch of President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, which has largely been occasioned by steep increases in the prices of petroleum products over the last 4.5 years. Sorry about that. Also permits me to state from the word go that the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government has shown itself to be callous and does not appear to give a hoot about the plight of Ghanaians. Otherwise, what can be the justification for the rampant and persistent increases in fuel prices we are witnessing in Ghana today? As you may be aware, Ghanaians have once again been slapped with another increase in the pump prices of fuel. Only yesterday, the prices of diesel and petrol was increased by 7% by the insensitive and clueless Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government. This is the 9th consecutive time in a row in this year 2021 that 122 Ghana cedis as of January 2021 to about 31 Ghana witnessed under the watch of President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia are a direct product of their insensitive and bad leadership and nothing more. The introduction of a raft of draconian tax measures on petroleum products, such as the introduction of 20 pesos energy sector levy on every liter of diesel and petrol, the increase of 18 pesos in ESLA per kilogram of LPG, the introduction of 10 pesos sanitation tax, also known as baller tax, on every liter of diesel and petrol, the introduction of a 1% COVID levy on the National Health Insurance levy, and the VAT flat rate by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government, coupled with the free fall consistent and steep increase in the prices of fuel products. The introduction of these regressive and draconian taxes by a group of people who berated the actual NDC Mahama administration for overtaxing Ghanaians, and a group who promised to move Ghana from taxation to production when elected, smacks of deception and insensitivity of monumental proportions. The cascading effect of these draconian taxes have, among other things, led to an escalation in the prices of fuel products, transport fares, building materials, food products, and other commodities on the market, without a commensurate increase in incomes, thereby making cost of living unbearable for the vast majority of Ghanaians. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the cause of the excruciating economic hardships Ghanaians are currently experiencing. Like I explained to you, in this year alone, 2021, the price per gallon of petrol and diesel has moved from about 22 Ghana cedis to 31 Ghana cedis. So roughly we are looking at an increase of 10 Ghana cedis, which translates into an increase of about 45%. Yet in this year, 2021, the only increase in the wages and salaries of public sector workers that government has, implemented is a paltry 4%. So how can you be increasing the wages and salaries of public sector workers by 4%? That we are here to discuss today. It will be recalled that a gallon of petrol and diesel was sold at about 16 Ghana cedis. December 2016, the administration was leaving office. The MPP, led by their then presidential candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and vice presidential candidate products, particularly the energy sector, the special petroleum tax, so as to significantly reduce the price of petrol. So they promised to reduce the price of petrol. And when we talk about these things, we are not doing it for the fun of it. We are not engaging in petty politics. What we are doing is that we are holding a government accountable to the standard they held the actual NDC Mahama administration to, and accountable for their promises. And lest we forget, I would like at this stage to refresh our memory and show you some of the things then candidates Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia said about President Mahama relative to fuel prices when they were in opposition. And so, Mr. Screenman, can we see? Okay, so as you can see on the screen, this is a graphic online publication dated 18th May 2015. And if you can scroll up for me to, no, scroll up. Mahama has no sympathy for Ghanaians. This is Dr. Bawumia. So let nobody accuse Sammy Gyamfi and the NDC for doing politics with fuel prices. This is the standard they subjected President Mahama to. Now, can we go to the next slide? Quickly. This was, I believe, a tweet he made sometime in May 2015. And this is what the economic whiskey of the MPP said about fuel prices. I feel really sad this morning for the ordinary Ghanaian, the hardworking people who have to endure the insensitive decision to increase fuel prices at this time. Next slide. Now, this was also a tweet by candidate Akufo-Addo, then in opposition, on the 6th of December 2016, a day to the December 7, 2016 elections. And this is what he had to say. I have seen how drivers, both private and commercial, struggle to pay for the high prices of fuel and insurance premiums. Hashtag vote Akufo-Addo. Next. US. This was candidate Akufo-Addo again on the 18th of February 2012 on his Twitter handle, saying that the cost of living and the cost of fuel is the highest in Ghana today. Next. Dr. Bawumia again on the 3rd of May 2012 said the prices of basic commodities such as gari, pure water, cement, and prices of fuel products had all seen triple-digit increases. Next. Then on the 3rd of December 2016, 4 days before the December 7, 2016 polls, Dr. Bawumia said to the taxi and trotro driver who has been hit by high cost of fuel and insurance, you have a chance to vote, to hashtag vote for change. Next. I mean, decision to increase price of fuel insensitive. We can go on and on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is to just remind you of some of the things the MPP said in opposition about fuel prices, so that we can situate this conversation in the right context. So like I said, the MPP, led by their then presidential candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and vice presidential candidate Dr. Bawumia, lambasted and berated President Mahama for the price of fuel at the price of food. I am sure you would recall how the MPP in their 2016 manifesto described for the MPP. But little did they know that this and other similar sugar-coated promises of the MPP were pure sophistry. Instead of scrapping ESLA, as promised, the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government has collateralized a loan which extended its intended duration from 5 years to 15 years and increased it by over 20%. As if that was not enough, this government introduced a new energy sector levy of 20 pesos on every liter of diesel and petrol just this year, 2021. Additionally, they have introduced a baller tax on petrol and diesel, 10 pesos per liter. As a result of these new tax measures, another increases in existing taxes. So not only have they introduced new taxes, they have increased include the increase of the bust margin from 3 pesos to 9 pesos per liter, representing an increase of 200%. The increase in the fuel market margin from 3 pesos to 5 pesos, representing an increase of 67%. And the increase in the road fund levy from 41 pesos to 46 pesos. And as a result of these increases in existing taxes, introduction of new, unnecessary, and nuisance taxes, a gallon of petrol and diesel, which was sold at 16 Ghana cedis per gallon in December 2016, is today selling at 31 Ghana cedis, almost double the price they berated the NDC Mahama administration for. It is therefore clear from the foregoing facts that I introduce on fuel is the major contributing factor. And so when I hear people saying that, oh, NDC people, what would you have done differently? Even if Mahama was in office, the price of fuel would have still gone up. Please, if Mahama was in office, there wouldn't have been any baller tax on the price of fuel. There wouldn't have been any 20 pesos new ESLA, or even like energy sector levy, on the price of fuel. Elections, they say, have consequences. So let's not create the impression that all leaders or all political parties are the same. I am telling you on authority that if President Mahama was in office, we wouldn't have introduced these draconian tax measures at a go on the prices of fuel in this year when many businesses are still battling the negative impact of COVID-19. And so the price of fuel would have been far cheaper if the NDC and President Mahama were in office today. Friends from the media, this astronomical increment in the prices of fuel commodities by the Akufo-Addo government and its concomitant effect on transport fares have led to steep increases in general prices of goods and services, thereby making life unbearable for the vast majority of Ghanaians. And when we talk about prices going up, we are not just talking like Bawumi used to do when he used to visit the Malata market before his economic lectures. He also went to Malata and Makola markets few days ago. This, bear in mind, was before the latest increment in the prices of fuel. And if you take a cursory look at the construction industry with focus on the prices of building materials, you will see that it reveals a very worrying trend, which is a major concern for many Ghanaians today. A 50 kg bag of cement that was sold at 27 Ghana cedis in the year 2016 is being sold at 52 Ghana cedis today, and even in some cases above that price. A ton of iron rods, 16 mm iron rods, that was sold at about 2,800 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today selling at 5,300 Ghana cedis. While a packet of aluminium roofing sheets that was sold at about 520 Ghana cedis in 2016 is being sold at about 1,200 cedis today. Similarly, PVC pipes, the 20 mm PVC pipes that used to sell at about 3 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today being sold at 8 Ghana cedis. Electrical cables, that is the 16 mm cable metal, that used to sell at 700 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today selling at 1,553 Ghana cedis. While the 1.5 millimeter cable metal, which used to sell at 78 Ghana cedis, is today selling at 167 Ghana cedis. See most of you doing but I mean, we are just scratching the surface of the problem. So relax. Distinguished friends, the situation is even more dire in the case of food products, where a bag of maize that used to sell at 170 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today being sold at 450 Ghana cedis. While a cup of beans, the margarine cup of beans, that used to sell at 1 cedi 50 pesos in 2016 is today being sold at 5 Ghana cedis. Also, an onloka of Gary that used to sell at 5 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today selling at 12 Ghana cedis. While a bucket of onions that used to sell at 15 Ghana cedis in 2016 is selling at 40 Ghana cedis currently. Also, a bag of sachet water that used to sell at 1 cedi 50 pesos in 2016 is today selling at 4 Ghana cedis. While a sack of kokunte that was sold at 200 Ghana cedis in 2016, while a sack of kokunte that was sold at 200 Ghana cedis in 2016 is being sold at a whopping 600 Ghana cedis today. Again, a pound of cow meat that was sold at 9 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today being sold at 17 Ghana cedis. While one chicken broiler that used to sell at 35 Ghana cedis is today being sold at 70 Ghana cedis. And women are here. If I'm lying, you can bear that out. And we will make this script available to you. We expect you to fact check everything we have said. Additionally, ladies and gentlemen, a bottle of Frytol oil that used to sell at 130 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today selling at 285 Ghana cedis. Similarly, a crate of eggs that used to sell at 12 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today selling at a whopping 26 Ghana cedis. Just to mention a few. And like I said, we gathered these prices before the latest increment. And so our projections are that from Monday going, next week going, the prices will go up again. This picture looks scary for many Ghanaian families and households, as it has become a constant struggle for many Ghanaians to afford 3 square meals a day. The reality is that times are tough. The system is hard and pockets are dry. Car owners are suffering. Taxi drivers are suffering. Trotro drivers are suffering. Trotro mates are suffering. Uber drivers are suffering. Bus drivers are suffering. Passengers are suffering. Journalists are suffering. And Ghanaians in general are suffering. Sadly, the state of economic hardships and hopelessness in the country keeps worsening by the day with no end in sight. All as a result of the insensitive and bad leadership of the deceptive Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government. The question we would want to ask President Akufo-Addo to production. What a campaign rhetoric that Ghanaians were being taxed by President Mahama and their promise to develop Ghana through tax incentives. It bears reminding ourselves that in the run-up to the 2016, these matters of political chicanery, President Akufo-Addo himself, ably assisted by Dr. Bawumia, told Ghanaians in the Akan language that yetisikaso and so come there. To which Ghanaians were You would further recall, ladies and gentlemen, that in the run-up to the 2020 general elections, these same two people, Dr. Bawumia and President Akufo-Addo, asked the good people of Ghana to give them 4 more years to do 4 more for them. Is the imposition of draconian taxes on Ghanaians, which has led to persistent increases in fuel, with this concomitant, effects on general prices and cost of living, what they meant by 4 more years or 4 more to do more. Today, Ghana's economy is in shambles. Our national currency, the Ghana cedi, continues to depreciate at a very alarming rate against all the major international currencies, while government continues to cook fictitious economic figures to paint a different picture. The US dollar, which used to trade with the cedi at about 4 Ghana cedis to $1, as of December 2016, is margins and capital of businesses, particularly importers, of the economic management team, who was once touted by the MP as the economic messiah, is nowhere to be found. their opulent lifestyle. In the midst of hardships and economic difficulties, at a time, public sector workers have been given a paltry 4% increase in their salaries. President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia have chosen to live luxuriously like Arabian kings at the expense of the already burdened Ghanaian taxpayer. There is no gainsaying the fact that the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government is the luckiest and the most resourced government in Ghana's history. They have borrowed more than any government in our history and have had access to revenue from 3 oil fields. No government has ever had that. In addition to that, they've had access to tax revenue of over 157 billion Ghana cedis in only 4 years. That excludes tax revenue for 2021. 157 billion, which is almost double the tax revenue John Mahama got in 4 years, which was just 83 billion Ghana cedis. In addition to that, President Mahama left them a Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund with $200 million in it. President Mahama left them a sinking fund with $500 million in it to pay the 750 million euro bond President Kufuor issued in 2007. President Mahama left them Exim Bank. He left them a stabilization fund which had over $200 million in it. Yet, this government has next to nothing to show relative to developmental projects. They cannot point to one secondary school they have built for the people of this country, not one hospital they have built, not one airport they have built, not a single meaningful project they have done that has created jobs and improved the lives of Ghanaians. Instead of investing in the productive sectors of the economy, they have virtually wasted all these resources on consumption, profligacy, and corruption. Their misplaced priorities are the bane of the ailing Ghanaian economy and the main reason why Ghanaians are suffering in a manner never seen in our history. It is instructive to note that in the midst of persistent fuel price increases and ever-rising cost of living, financial allocations to the office of the president have galloped from 79 million Ghana cedis in 2017 to 823 million Ghana cedis in 2021, representing a rise of 937%. And what is this money being used for? Is it being used for productive projects and programs that can stimulate the economy, create jobs, and improve the livelihoods of Ghanaians? The answer is a big no. Rather, all these monies are being applied mainly to financing luxurious foreign travels of President Akufo-Addo in hyper-expensive private jets, which sometimes cost the Ghanaian taxpayer as $20 per hour. And why are they doing this? Because the president wants to fulfill his childhood fantasy of bathing in the skies. In the last 3 months alone, the taxes of suffering Ghanaians worth 10 million Ghana cedis, equivalent to 100 billion Ghana cedis, 100 billion old Ghana cedis, have been wasted $4 million Ghana cedis, equivalent to 640 billion old Ghana cedis, in 9 months alone in 2019 on similar foreign. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, this could have been used for in the health sector or in the education. Right. And shown a modicum of sensitivity to the plight of suffering masses. If Akufo-Addo is rent that necessity in the corrupt Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration continue to plunder the assets of state-owned enterprises such as the Tama Oil Refinery, Bost, GMPC, among others. I'm sure you know about the brazen and unprecedented thievery that is going on at Tor currently, where 105,927 liters of gas oil, 18 drums of electrical cables, and other valuable assets worth 42 million Ghana cedis, that is 420 billion cedis, have all vanished into thin air. Yet, this corrupt and wasteful government continues to demand more revenue from suffering Ghanaians through the imposition of draconian taxes on prices of fuel, with its ripple effects on cost of living. Friends, we think, and I believe you will agree with us, that it is the height of insensitivity and the monumental betrayal of the trust of the Ghanaian people for Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, who promised to protect the public purse, to turn around and engage in this obscene and unprecedented plunder of sin, at the same time inflicting severe hardships on Ghanaians. It is very offensive for the president, his vice, and other government functionaries to continue to display such odious ostentation, particularly at this time that majority of Ghanaians are suffering and cannot make ends meet. And it is about time we told them that we, the people of this country, are no longer willing to pay for their opulent lifestyles. We in the NDC are not in the least surprised that this honest present This is because we have always known that even though a campaign of deceitful promises can bring one into power, their true character will always expose them in the fullness of time. Lies, they say, have a short management, so as to stabilize fuel prices and the prices of imported products in general. More importantly, we wish to call on the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government to scrap some of the unnecessary taxes they have heaped on the price build-up of petroleum products so as to drastically reduce sin. We hold the view that the 2-month suspension or zero rating of the stabilization and recovery levy of 14 pesos and 16 pesos per liter of diesel and petrol respectively is wholly inadequate, insufficient, and cannot bring about any significant reduction in the current prices of fuel products. In fact, given the fact that the price of a gallon of diesel and petrol has increased by close to 10 Ghana cedis in this year 2021 alone, it is an insult to the sensibilities of suffering Ghanaians for government to offer to reduce the price of fuel by a paltry 63 pesos, which is the net effect of the zero rating of the stabilization and recovery levy government has announced. We therefore wish to call on the Akufo-Addo It will be recalled that a special petroleum tax was introduced by the ex-Wal NDC Mahama administration sometime in 2016 when crude oil export price fell far below government's budgetary projections. The objective was to shore up revenue for development purposes. But given the fact that crude oil prices have increased from below $40 to over $80 per barrel in recent time, above government's budgetary projection of $54 per barrel, it is untenable for government to still maintain this tax, the special petroleum tax on petroleum products now, and same should be scrapped without further delay. This is particularly so when government's revenue from the oil sector for the second quarter of this year, 2021, went up by almost 60%, equivalent to $89.1 million as compared to oil revenue period in the previous year. In the same vein, we call on government to scrap the newly introduced taxes on fuel products, such as the energy sector levies of 20 pesos on a litre of diesel and petrol, and the new sanitation levy, boiler tax, of 10 pesos on a litre of diesel and petrol, as same is totally needless and useless. We also demand that the new increase of 18 pesos on a kilogram of LPG must be scrapped by the government. And finally, we wish to call on government to consider the review of other existing taxes on fuel products in line with proposals submitted to the Ministry of Finance and Energy by the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers (COPEC) and other stakeholders in the downstream petroleum sector. Distinguished friends from the media, these demands are not born out of cheap politics or partisanship, but the realities we presently find ourselves in and are intended for the collective good and welfare of all Ghanaians. We wish to remind President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia to respect and uphold the sanctity of their political pact with the Ghanaian electorate. The Ghanaian people did not bargain for this level of tax burden on the prices of petroleum products in the 2020 December 7 polls. Governance at all times must be about the advancements of the collective good and not the narrow interest of a select few. This government has become far removed from the stark realities of the Ghanaian people, and it is about time they got back on track. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we project that if government listens to us and does as we have advised, the price of diesel and petrol will come down drastically. This will stabilize the ever-rising prices of general goods and services and go a long way to ameliorate the sufferings of suffer. Because when you go to Total or Shell today, both NDC, NPP, CPP, all Ghanaians buy from the same pumps. And so what we are talking about is not just an NDC position, but it is something that will benefit all Ghanaians if done. You know, the last quarter of the year usually presents an opportunity for many to turn around their economic fortunes. It looks like we are heading for the worst Christmas ever for the Ghanaian people. We cannot allow the hardships we are experiencing to continue. We demand that things are changed by the government, and that change must happen now. Thank you very much for your time. maintain order in the auditorium because this aspect of the presentation is also very important. And so if you can keep your presentation, I'll be most grateful for that. na ma ahokyere a yehu bi da ababeto timamufo so eka aban na sanso buo mu biem by 7% ama ene petrol ni diesel gallon ba kobo edu 31 Ghana cedis na we ye empre enkono a afi we mu nko a petrol ni diesel bom ifiti afi ase na ye petrol eni diesel gallon ba ko be se 22 Ghana cedis ene edu 31 cedis na che in only 10 months no be 10 Ghana cedis na buy we dia ka petrol and diesel bo na obebi sa de enti na abasa impempi no aban no dada Ghana for se o e ya mansa dwabo a ye de to fan wo e na akoso enti na manabasa international market price na akoso but abusuanfo enne ye chire ma Ghana fo nyina ati ase se enye international market price per se and ama fan wo bo ehuri akosoro sa nemum eye nyema mienu baako eye eto a aban we asesa agu petrol ni diesel bo so ena de toso mienu eye ye sika say dwabo e na ama petrol bo akoso eye to na ene dollar kufu adon kwa de taxes be miensa and auto petrol so or the 20 pesos energy sector levy ne ni ho ba e no de about 20 pesos energy didn't pay in sender a friend of boy